Hey guys, it's Lisa from boardwalkskater.com, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about making those basic adjustments to your longboard or your skateboard when it's new and out of the box. And also we're going to cover a little bit of just basic maintenance, things to keep an eye on when you're first starting out, to make sure that your board is in proper working order and will continue to be in proper working order. Okay, so first off, if you don't have one already, you need one of these. It's a T-tool, sometimes called a Y-tool. It contains everything you need to adjust the bolts, bushings on your skateboard, take your wheels off if you needed to. And so it's all in one tool, it's pocket size, it can go in your backpack, fanny pack, whatever. It costs less than $10, and let me tell you, this is peace of mind having this on you whenever you go out. So please, 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 get one of these and keep it with you when you go out on your board, okay? You'll thank me eventually. Maybe not today, but eventually, okay? So let's talk about making adjustments to your boards. In some of my beginner videos, I talk about that you might need to make an adjustment to your bushings if your board feels too loose or too tight. Okay, so when your board comes from the factory, whether it's skateboard or longboard, you know, it's however the guy at the factory thought it should be, right? It may not feel good to you. And if it feels too wobbly, or, you know, you can adjust that. If it's too tight and feels too rigid, you can adjust that too. And not a lot of beginners know that. And they go out there on their board and they're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy and out of control and I don't like this feeling, right? But you can make adjustments to the board that will make them make your board more stable, more rigid, or more loose if that's the case, if that's what you want, okay? So here's a skateboard. Concept's the same with longboard, right? But I just pulled out my skateboard here. So the bushings are basically right here, and they're on both the front and the rear, okay? There's a little rubber stopper here, and it's really hard to see on video, okay? But it's basically this bolt, right, that goes in to your trucks. There's a little rubber bushing there, okay? So tightening it down makes your board more rigid, okay? And it has less rock, less flex, right? It also diminishes your ability to turn, so keep that in mind. You'll still be able to turn, but you know, your board's just not gonna flex as much as it would before, okay? And then there's also a bushing on the back too. So now, I'm gonna flip the board over here because I just wanna make sure you understand a concept about adjusting your board, okay, and why you should adjust it. If you step on your board, right, with both feet, okay, and you rock back and forth like that, and it feels really just loose, you know, uncomfortably loose for you, like you feel like if you were to go out, you might actually fall off the board, right? You're not comfortable with it. You need to tighten down the bushings, right? So clockwise, tighten them down. You need them tighter. If you get on the board and you feel like, dang, this thing just doesn't even move at all, you know, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to turn, then you need to loosen them, right? So then turn the bolt counterclockwise so that you take less pressure off the bushing and the board will flex more. Okay, so that's what you need to keep in mind about loose, tight, how to test for it, okay? The other thing to keep in mind when you're doing adjustments is that whatever you do to the front bushing, you have to do to the back bushing. If you adjust the front more than the back or the back more than the front, you could introduce wobble to your board. And wobble is, the best way to describe it is if you're going downhill, you'll feel like this sine wave in the board, you know, and like the board's wobbling back and forth and making these teeny tiny, you know, sine waves, okay? That's bad. You don't want to introduce that, right? Because if you're coming down a really gnarly hill and you have a wobble, it can just go through your whole body and just kick you off the board, okay? So whatever you do to the front, do to the back. And what I do is, you know, I put my tool on, right? And I do like a quarter turn at a time. I do a quarter turn to the front, a quarter turn to the back, whatever it is if you're tightening or loosing. Do the same thing to the front, exact same thing to the front as you do to the back, okay? Keep that in mind. And just do a quarter turn at a time. and then get back on your board and see how that feels, okay? If you still need to tighten down or loosen it up, you can still do that, but it's just easier if you do a little bit at a time, okay? So that's how you make those adjustments, okay, if your board feels too loose or too tight. Now, as a beginner, I just want you to keep a few things in mind about keeping an eye on your board and the maintenance, okay? Because probably at some point in time, if you ride a lot, you'll have to change out your bushings, your wheels, or something like that. But right now, here's the thing I want you to keep in mind. Rusty bushings are bad bushings, okay? You got to keep an eye on those. So the bushings are the bearings are inside the wheels here, and you can look inside your wheel and you can see if you have rust or it looks corroded, or I mean, I have long blonde hair. I usually end up with like blonde hair wrapped around it. It's totally gross, but I have to like clean out my own hair for my skateboard from time to time. So maybe you'll have to do that too. I don't know. But take a look at those bearings and see how they look. If they have any rust on them, take your wheels off and have a look at them. And you just don't want rusty bearings because it's just, you could eventually, it'll just rust through and like your wheel will break off, and that's no fun if you're actually out riding. So keep an eye on that, you know, keep it clean. Clean out your hair. It's like a hairbrush or something occasionally, but look down here from time to time. Make sure everything is copacetic, looks good, there's not rust. You know, check your bolts and, you know, do they look loose? Is anything potentially missing? But just, you know, once a month at least look at your bearings and see what's going on there. If you feel like you're just like, you're pushing like crazy and it's like, man, this is just getting harder and harder, it seems like, it's probably time to change out your bearings. I actually ride a lot, my skateboard a lot. I'm out there 4 to 5 times a week. Some weeks, 5 to 6 miles a day. So I put a lot on my boards and I change out my bearings quite a bit because I can feel it when they start to go, right? Another indicator is like, you know, you spin a wheel and if it stops moving after, you know, like a second or two, that's definitely a pretty good indicator that your bearings have gone out. So spin your wheels occasionally, see what's happening there. You know, things still look good here, but I'm probably getting towards the end of my life on these particular bearings. So all those things keep in mind as a beginner for just basic maintenance, and just keep an eye on things, right? Look at it. Don't just say, oh, set it and forget it and hopefully everything's fine. Because if you do skate a lot, you will have to learn basic maintenance and how to change things out, like your wheels and your bearings and stuff like that. But it's not that hard. And we'll cover that in a different video, but I just wanted to go over basic beginner maintenance and what you should look for. So I hope that was helpful. I've talked about doing this video for a couple videos now, and I'm finally getting around to it. So thanks you guys for joining me today, and we'll talk soon.